Hello friends and welcome. In today's video, we'll be looking at designing a property search app. So endeavor to watch till the end as I'll be explaining major functionalities during this video, and also I'll also show how you can implement this type of transition and animation within your application. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, consider doing that right now by clicking on the subscribe button, and also like this video. This will encourage the YouTube algorithm to show these videos to more people. So kindly do that. Thank you for doing that. All right. Without wasting time, let's get started. So I have Visual Studio open right here. I'm going to create a new project. It's going to be a mobile app project, and the name is going to be property search app, or let's just call it property app. Alright, so we have Visual Studio project successfully loaded. So the first thing we're going to do is to do certain setup. We want to install some plugins and also add our resources into this project. So let's install our NuGet packages. We're going to install two NuGet packages. We're going to install the pancake view and also install the shared transition plugin. So let's do that. Okay, so let's install the shared transition plugin. Alright, before we leave here, let's ensure that we have all our plugins updated. Most importantly, we want to make sure that we have Xamarin Forms 4.5. So let's update this. Alright, we have that updated. Now the next thing we want to do is to import our assets into the resource folder. So I have the assets here. I'm going to copy the assets and paste inside the drawables folder for Android, and also the resources folder for iOS. So the next thing we want to do at this stage is to use embedded fonts. And for us to use embedded fonts, you have to copy the font file into your project. Now we are putting the font file inside the portable class library here. What I'm going to do is to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it fonts, and copy all my font files and paste right in here. Okay, so I already have these fonts imported. Now the next thing to do is to make sure that the properties are set to embedded resource. So I'm going to set this property to embedded resource, switching it from none to embedded resource, so that the fonts will be embedded in the project. In order to use these fonts, we have to export the fonts, and you can do this in your assemblyinfo.cs, or you can do it in your app.xamarin.cs. I would like to do it in the app.xamarin.cs so that it's more visible. to see. So you come at the top of your namespace right here, and let's export the font. We start by saying assembly, export fonts, then the name of our fonts. If you come in the name of the font folder, Unito Sans Ivan bold, Unito Sans regular, Unito Sans semi-bold. So you're going to have all the fonts exported. So let's start with the first one. Say no, Unito Sans regular, and the .ttf, that's a font name. And the next thing we want to do is to give it a custom name, an alias, so that by the time you're referencing in your XAML code, instead of calling Unito Sans, you'll be calling that alias. So we'll do something like alias so let's call this our theme font regular. Theme font regular. So anytime you want to use this font, instead of calling Unito Sans, we'll be calling the theme font regular. So I'm going to export the two other fonts right here. So we have the regular, the medium, and the bold. We want to start design our pages. So start from the main page. Now we have a search bar here, and for us to use a search entry box here, we need to use an entry control. And looking at this, we all know that for Android there is usually a line when you use the entry control, and for iOS there's always a border around your entry. So in order to remove the line, we have to create a custom renderer. So the next thing we're going to do now is create a custom renderer for our entry, so that every time we're using the entry, the default line will not be shown. So I will show that of Android, but it's also similar to iOS. So I'm just going to show that of Android because I was using Android to explain this project. So what we're going to do is create a new class inside your Android project. So we call it a custom entry renderer. Let's add it to the project. And we're going to do a couple of things right here. First, let's set this to public, and let's inherit from entry renderer. Entry renderer. We have to resolve this using namespace. Let's try to resolve this error, even though this is it's not it's just a warning. You can decide to leave it, but I don't like to see this, so I'm going to resolve it. It's complaining about the default constructor, and I'm going to do something about it now. So I'm going to give it a context, and I'm going to the base context. So this takes away the warning. Okay, so but the major thing we want to do in this custom renderer is that we want to be able to remove the lines in the border. So what we're going to do is to override element change. Override on element change. That entry, We have to bring in Xamarin Forms. Xamarin Forms namespace. Then what we now want to do is to check if the old element, if it's null. So we only want to make this adjustment if old element is null. If it's not null, so just use what we have. So do control background equals null. So with this, you will see that there won't be any line or any background in our entry. So the last thing we want to do before we go is to export this renderer, or else it's not going to work. So we're going to do assembly, export renderer, then what's the name? The name is type of entry. Type of entry. So it's going to pick the name from the entry class, and then the target. Our target is our custom entry renderer. Custom entry renderer. Okay, so we're going to stop this namespace, and okay, so that's it for our custom renderer. In order to remove the line, so for iOS you have to do the same thing to remove the borderline from the iOS project. And looking at our prototype, you can see that we have, this can be divided into 3 different rows. The first row to take the search bar, the second row to take the property type, and the last row to take the list of a property. We're going to start with a grid, and the grid will have 3 rows. So let's start with a grid. The grid will have 3 rows. As you can see, we have a grid. We set the background color, and we set some properties, padding to 20, just to give a padding both left and right, and all around. So for our search bar, we'll be making use of a frame, so that we'll be able to have, you can make use of a frame, or you can make use of the pancake view. Well, in this case, I would just like to make use of a frame, and inside the frame I will now have a grid. So I'm going to have a frame right in the first row. The frame, I have to set the margin and the padding to 0, height to 40. That's the height of our search control. Then we have a grid inside. Let me show you. So we have a grid inside that's divided into 3 columns. The first column takes this, the second column takes the entry, and the last column takes this filter. So we have a grid that has 3 columns. The first column auto, the second column takes the rest of the space, the third column auto, and the first column we have an image. The image that takes the search icon, then our entry on the second column, then the filter image on the third column. So this is our search bar. So I'm going to collapse this. Let me just collapse this so that we're able to see the next. So the next thing we want to do is the property type. So in this property type, we're going to have a stack layout to stack these two together. So, and we also have a stack layout that's going to stack all this control together. So I'm going to have a stack layout, and the stack layout is going to be in the first. It's going to be in the second row of this grid. Then we're going to have a label. The label has the text property type. That's going to show property type. Then now, in order to show the list of property type, this list of property type right here, I'm going to make use of a stack layout with bindable layout. So I'm going to put the stack layout inside a scroll view. The scroll view is going to be horizontal, so that it's going to stack horizontally and it's going to be scrollable. So I have a scroll view with orientation that is horizontal. And inside this scroll view, I'm going to have a stack layout that is also horizontal. So I have a stack layout that is horizontal, the spacing of 10. I'm setting the bindable layout item source to property list, which we are going to set in our code to populate the list of property types. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to set our bindable layout, a bindable layout dot item template. Inside this item template, we have a data template. Now, inside this data template, we want to make use of our pancake view, and I'm making use of a pancake view because we need rounded corner. Let me show you. We need rounded corner, we need shadow, and we need gradients. And pancake view gives us this capability. So I'm going to bring a pancake. I'm going to have a pancake view with some properties here. Corner radius 15, set some margin. As shadow is true, the background is white. Then inside this pancake view, I'm going to have a label to show the property type. So we have a label, give it a name so that we can reference it later. I'll show you. Then it's binding to the property type from this list. Okay, so let's resolve this using statements and add the pancake view namespace. All right, so this row now shows our property type layouts. Okay, now so the last row is going to contain the list of property. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do, just like we've done before, is to have a scroll view that will house the stack layout, because we're going to be using a stack layout for the property list also. So we have a scroll view set to the second row, set to the third row, well, that is the index 2, and inside we're going to have a stack layout. The background is transparent. You may not necessarily set this, but of course. And variable layout item source is set to the property list, which we are going to set in code. Then here we're going to also do our bindable layout dot items template. Let's set a data template for this, and also our data template is going to be making use of a pancake view because you want to make use of rounded corner and shadow. So let's make use of a pancake view right here. And and you can see it has height of 190, corner radius of 5, as shadow is true. Okay, so inside this pancake view, we now we are going to create a grid that has we're going to create a grid. The grid is going to have 2 rows. We're going to have all other controls right inside. So we have a grid that has 2 rows. Then inside this grid, on the first row, we're going to have image. So we're going to have an image just like we have here. We're going to have an image as a property image, and come back to this later. That's the property image. Then the next thing is we're going to have this bookmark image showing at the right top corner here. So I'm going to bring another image, so it's also going to be a bookmark. We set it to end so that it can show at this right end here. So those are the 2 things that we need for this part. Then the last thing for this first row is to bring the location layout. So for the location layout, we're going to use a grid, and from that grid we're going to put a pancake view inside that grid. So let's do that now, so we can see almost all together. So we have a grid. Inside the grid, we're going to have a pancake view. So the pancake view will have a rounded corner radius. I will set the opacity to 0.5 so that it can create a transparent, can have a transparent effect just like we have here. And now we have the corner radius set to 15, set to 13 rather. And inside this layout, we have a grid that we have a stack layout rather. Let's use a stack layout to stack this location image and the location name. So we have a stack layout inside this pancake view that has image and the text location. So notice we are binding all these properties so that we can bind items to them from code. So now we're going to the next row that has the price and the information about the property. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to use a stack layout to stack these 2 properties together, these two controls together, and we also have stack layouts to stack all these together. So we have a parent stack layout that contains a grid, that contains a label, and another stack layout. Inside that stack layout, we now have other stack layouts that holds these properties. Okay, I'm going to put it at this end. Yeah, just right here. So I have this stack layout. Remove this. I'm going to come to this later. So I have a stack layout in the second row here, and the first thing is the price, as you can see. And I have another stack layout. Inside the stack layout, and I have individual stack layout that contains the image of the information, and also bind to the details of that information. So the number of bed, the number of beds, and the space that we have. Okay, so that is it for our page. So if we run this now, let's see what we have. Okay, so running the app, you can see that we have our search bar and we have the property type label, but we don't have any item listed here. But before we leave this page, you can see that our entry here does not have that line, that's line here, the default line. That's because of our custom renderer. Okay, so what we want to do now is to find a way to do property type and also the list of properties here. And that we're going to do by going to our main page.cs. These are our main page.cs right here. And the first thing we're going to do is to first of all set the binding context. So the binding context, let's set it to itself, so that every property that we have inside this page will bind to the view. Okay, so and the next thing I'm going to do is I need two classes that's going to hold the property for each of for our property. That's a list of properties and also the property type. So right outside the class, I'm going to bring two classes. So the first one is a property type that's going to hold the name of the property. So that is all this property type that we have here: studio, 4-bed, 3-bed, office, and all. Then for this, we're going to have a list of property, the property name, the image, the address, location, the price, the bed, bed space, and the details, which we're going to need later. Okay, so having gotten this, the next thing I want to do is now really set a list that we want to bind to our view. So the list is going to be a list of property type and a list of properties, and these are going to get their data from a method. The first method is to get a list of property types, and the second method is to get list of properties. So we have list of property types right here: all, studio, 4-bed, 3-bed, and office. Then also we have a method that is get properties. There's a list of property that has address, location, the price, the bed, space, and some details, which are just some dummy text right here. Okay, so with this now, let's run our project. We should be able to have data in our view. Yes, so we have data on our view that we can scroll, and we also have the list of property type here. Okay, as you can see, if we click on any of this, it's not showing selected just like we have in our prototype, but we'll get back to this later. And if you select any of this property, it should take us to the next page. So the next thing we are going to do now is to design the second page, which is this in our prototype. Let's check it out. So this is our second page, and this is what we're going to be designing next. So once we design this, we'll link the two pages together and also add some animation to it. Then we'll undo the selection of this property type. Okay, let's continue. So looking at this page, we can obviously see that this page is going to be divided into three the first part that takes the header image, the second part that takes this information, and the third part that takes the button. Okay, so what we're going to do is in our portable class library project, we're going to create a new page. We'll call it the details page. So let's add a new page, new item, content page, .xaml. Let's call it details page. Okay, so our details page is going to contain a grid with 3 rows, just like I explained. The first row is going to take the header image, and the second is going to take the details information. The last is going to take the button, book now. And this is how we have defined the height of each of the rows. Okay, so let's start with the first row. The first row is going to have an image, and this image you're going to have different properties for it. Let's set the various property. So this, and if you look at it, we have the source bind to property.image. So we are going to have a property called property in the code behind. So we have a property object. From that object we have different attributes. Okay, so then the next thing for this is to have image button that will be our back button. So I'm going to make use of image button. Set the color to transparent. We don't want any color to show, any background color to show. Set the source to the back.png, which is in our resource folder, and we have a click event here that is going to take us back. So let's quickly undo that before we go. So we'll just do this navigation .pub async, so that this will take us back when we click. Okay, that undid successfully. So now for this details view, we're going to make use of a pancake view, and inside the pancake view we're going to have a scroll view. So let's start with the pancake view. We have a pancake view in the second row. Let me break this down so you can see. So we have a pancake view in the second row, and the corner radius, this is 30, this is 30, then down here with 0, this will be 0, so we can have this shape. This is what defines this shape. And inside we have padding of 35 all around, 35 top, 35 left, 35 right, and 0 at the bottom here. And we also have a margin, a negative margin, to push this up a little so I can have this effect, as you can see right here. Okay, so now inside this we now have a grid. No, let's use so we have a scroll view. We're going to make a scroll view so that the information here will be scrollable, just in case we have a small device. So we have a scroll view. We set some properties for the scroll view, and inside the scroll view we now have a stack layout. The stack layout will have a spacing of 15, as we are going to have all our information set. Okay, before we continue, let me resolve this namespace and bring the pancake view namespace right up here. Okay, now we're going to have We're going to have a grid. In this grid, we're going to have a stack layout that contains these two controls, and we also have this image in the grid. So we have a grid. Inside the grid, let me show you. So we have a grid. Inside the grid, we have a stack layout that contains the image for the location and the address right here with some properties. Then we now have the image here. As a matter of fact, we're supposed to make it an image button. So let's make it an image button so that's going to be clickable. Let's set the background to transparent. Background color to transparent. Okay, so that it's going to be clickable for direction. So or else. So if you use image button, you'll be able to do something like click. But if you use ordinary image, then you have to now undo the tap gesture. So that's the difference. So it's better to use image button at this stage. Okay, so right next here is the price information and all this information. And if you look at it, this is similar to the design that we have initially. So we're going to make use of the same pattern. The only difference is the font size here is more than what we have. The font size here is now 20 instead of 15. So as you can see, font size 20. But we have the same structure just like we have when we are designing the templates before. Okay, so the next thing I need at this stage is, let me collapse this so that I can know what is next. No, not this, this. Okay, so the next thing I need is, looking at this design, we need a horizontal line. So we're going to make use of a box view for that. The box view will have height of 1 pixel, height of 1, and vertical option to start, so that it can a thin line. Then we have a background color for it. Okay, so now coming to this, we're going to need a stack layout to stack all this together. So this is what I'm going to do. So we have a stack layout. Inside stack layout, we have a pancake view. So we have another stack layout in that stack layout. So we have a stack layout for all this. We now have a stack layout to stack this to this label, and this is going to be a pancake view with rounded corner with corner radius, and we have image inside the pancake view. So let me show you what I'm saying. So this is right here, the stack layout. Excuse me, let me move this back up. Okay, so this is the stack layout. That thing is not collapsing because it cannot find the last the closing of the grid of the okay. So we have a stack layout, and inside this stack layout we're going to have another stack layout that contains a pancake view. The pancake view is height of 50 and width of 50. If you check this prototype, that's what we have. Then we have to set the corner radius to 30. Now we have to do this so that we can have a complete rounded shape. If you don't do this, you may not have. This is what's giving us the circle effect. And the principle there is that your corner radius must be at least half of the width and height. So normally if you use 25, it's still going to work, but in some cases you may see some little edges around for some devices. So 30 looks like a perfect number for it. So that is how we got that. Then we have an image inside to show the phone. So in the same way, we're going to have the stack layout that contains all this other information for email, for map view, and for the more menu. So it follows the same pattern. So I'm going to bring those ones right in here. So if you look at it, you see that they have the same layout structure, and they have the same design. And one thing I want to quickly note now is to mention the fact that if you look at our font family that we've been using over time, you see that we are making reference to the font, the embedded font that we exported at the beginning of this video. So you can see same medium. If you go up and check other places where we have a label, you will see that we have, for example, we have theme font regular at this point. So that is the benefit of using embedded fonts. All right. So the next thing at this stage, at the end of this place, is to have another box view. In fact, the box view is the same as this. So I'm going to copy this and paste to have this other line right here. And also lastly, we're going to have two labels, one to get these details and the other for this text. So they're just two labels I'm going to put inside the stack layout. So let me show you. Just right after this box view, I'm going to have these two labels right here. This is showing details, and this is binding to the details of the property that we are showing the details from. Okay, so we have this now, and this is good. Okay, so so this is this. I'm going to collapse this. Let me scroll up. I'm going to collapse this. So if you look at it, we have item for our first. These items, all these items go to the first row. This pancake view goes to the second row. Now the third row, which is our book now, is what we want to do. Now for this, we are going to make use of a pancake view, and we're making use of a pancake view because we want to use a gradient. So I'm going to do some typing here. So let me just quickly pancake view, and I'm going to set the row to 2 and the height is 50. Okay, so let's start with this. Then the next thing is, if we want to use gradients, so we're going to set our gradient like this. So let's set pancake view dot background gradient stops. So let's find the background gradient stops. Then we are inside the background gradient stops. We're going to have a gradient collection. Inside the gradient collection, we're going to have gradient stops. So we're going to have 3 gradient stops with different colors. So we have this gradient from this, and we have offset start from 0. We have this other color, set it to the middle, and we have the last color, set it to the extreme. So we're going to have a look at our design right here. So from darker to light to lighter to the lightest of the color. So that is what this is doing. And the last thing we want to do is for gradients is from top to bottom. That's by default. So is usually at so the 0 angle is more like facing 150. But if you look here, we have this angle facing right to the right side. So for us to be able to get that effect, we have to set the angle. So let's set the background gradient angle. We're going to set it to 270. So going clockwise, that's where our 270 will be facing to the right. Okay. So, and lastly, inside the pancake view, we need the text. That's the label that's going to say book now. And this is the label right at this stage. Okay, so before we run this project, the next thing we want to do is able to bind our properties to this page. So let's go to the details page. Let me just use this to get there. So the details page. So right here, we're going to have a public property called property, a public property of type property called property, and we're going to pass the value of the selected property when we are calling this page. So right at the constructor level here, we're going to pass the property, and the next thing we're going to do is now to set the property of this page to the property that is being passed in the constructor. And then we're going to set the binding context of this page to itself. So I want to believe that is not a little bit confusing. So let me just quickly do a recap. So we have a property here of type property that is called property, and then we are passing in a property as a parameter when we are calling this page. So we give it a name called property with small letter. Then we are setting this property, that is this property here, we are setting it to the property that is being passed. After that, we set the binding context to this. This will tell the view that anything that is binding to the page to be found here. So if you look at here, we have property, and from our details page, you will see in all our bindings we have property.image. And let me just quickly go back. If you go to the definition of this class, you see that we will have an attribute called image here. So that is that. Okay, so now in order to do our navigation, we have to change the setup of our application. So the first thing is we have to set this to an instance of a new, that is in our app.xamarin.cs. We want to set it to a new navigation page. Let's set it to a new navigation page so that we're able to do navigation. That is the first thing that we need to do. Then the second thing that we need to do is that anytime we tap on a list of an item in the list, you should go to the details page. So we're going to handle that from the pancake view, or we make use of the grid. Let's make use of a grid. So property selected, let's go to the definition of this property selected, and inside this place what we're going to do is we're going to lay hold of the property that is selected and then navigate. Okay, let me do some typing. So let's say property property. So that's, I want to get the selected property. I want to get it from the sender. The sender is a view. So the view, the grid that we're using is a view, and then we want to get the binding context from it. Then we'll cast it as the type property. So we're saying that get the sender and cast it to view, then get the binding context, and everything that you've gotten out, you cast it to the type of a property. Then from here, you can do we can now do our navigation. So let's make this an asynchronous call, and let's await navigation, and let's push this async and get her pass a new details page, and inside the details page we pass in our property. Okay, so with this now we should be able to get the details of any selected property. So let's run it and see. Okay, so we have a list of properties, and if we select this, we should be able to get details on the next page. Yes, we have our details, as you can see, and this is scrollable, and you can see our gradients right in this page. Okay, so now there's something that I'm saying I don't like here. That is the header style, the navigation bar here. So I'm going to quickly fix that. This is what I'm going to do. Let's quickly do something that is let's quickly do this. So I want to make use of the alt reload property, so I can see this in action. So I want to remove the navigation header from this place. Let's remove the navigation. If I set this and save, this should reload and show me yeah, you can see I don't have the navigation bar up here again, and I have to do the same for the main page. Where's our main page? Okay, this is our main page. Okay, and lastly, this may not be necessary, but I don't like the blue the blue stripe that I'm seeing here, so I want to make it to be of the type that I'll work with. So later, by the time this reloads, it's going to be the color that I want. I'm going to save this and close it. So by the time we are running this next time, you're not going to see this blue, you're going to see a pink value here. Okay. The next thing we want to do is to do some animation. So animation, by the time you click on this, it's going to animate transition to this page and also animate content on this page. If you remember very well, at the beginning we installed shared transition. So we're going to make use of our shared transition at this stage. But one thing I've noticed that shared transition has some little issues when you're running it on Android. You don't really see the effect much, but if you're running it on iOS, you see it very well. So in this video, you may not necessarily be able to see it clearly, except if you are looking very closely. But on iOS, you can actually really see the effect. I don't know why it's like that. But all the same, let's look at how to implement the shared transition. So the first thing we want to do at this on our main page, the XAML, is to set our transition selection group. Okay, so no, the first thing we do is to first of all add the namespace of the transition. So let's do this. Let's call it st equals shared plugin.shared transition. You can see it right here. So we already have this. So the next thing is to set the transition select group and give it a name. So I'm going to do this st transition select share transition navigation page the transition select group equals product, and then we will give each control that you want to animate during transition, you give it a name. So for example, this image right here, if we go to the first page, you see the image in the list. So we have image in the list. So we want this image right here to transition to the image up here. So we give the two images the same name. Okay, so we will go to the point where we have the image in our okay, so here is it. Yeah, this is it. So we have this now, and we're going to set the transition name. We're going to set it, we're going to give it a name. So you're going to do something like st transition.name. So we call it property image. So we take the same name as it is now. We take the same name and go to our details page right here, and this is the image property, and we give it the same attached property name like this. We have to add this namespace. So let's quickly add a namespace here. st equals shared transition. Okay, so that is the first thing we have to do for transition. Then for that to really take effect, we have to remodify our navigation page. So we have to make use of the shared transition navigation page instead of the navigation page. So let's have this shared transition navigation page, and let's resolve the using statements so that this can handle the transition for us. Okay, so the next thing we want to do at this stage is in the details page. If you look at the details page right here, okay, so we have a details view. That is this view from this curved view right here. What we want to do is we want to make it to transition from the bottom to the top like this. So we're going to do that in code. Let's go here, and what we're going to do is we're going to override the on appearing. So right here, what we want to do, the first thing is to reset the position of the details view. So we'll call it by name and reset the translation in the in the y axis. We set it to 600, so it goes down. Then after this, we now want to animate it upward. So we'll say details view dot translate to. So we want to translate it from, so this is the x, so it's already on 0. Then the y, we want to translate it to 0. So from 600 back to 0. Then we want this to happen in the length in milliseconds. So let's say happen 500 milliseconds. Then we want to add the easing. So let's do easing dot sign in. Where is easing dot sign in out. So the sign in out will accelerate in and decelerate out. So it comes in faster, and decelerate as it stops. Okay. All right. So let's run this and see what we have. Okay, so now let's select this first item and have a details view. And the emulator is a little bit lagging. If you run it on a device, you see it clearly, so you can see it's animating, though it's a little bit lagging on the emulator, but you can see the transition. First of all, the image moves from, let me explain the transition. The image moves, this image moves from here with fade in out to the top of the details page, and the details view slide from bottom to the top. So let's say fades up then slides up. Okay, so that is our animation right there. The next thing, and which is the last thing that I want to do, is making sure that when you select any of these items, you are able to see the selected list in this list of items. So that's what I want to do next. And to do this, we're going to be making use of the Visual State Manager in Xamarin Forms. Alright, so let's get to work. So let's go to our main page and check where we have the, okay, so we have it right here. So right here, we're going to set the visual states. We're going to do visual state for this pancake view, and we're going to give it two states. So let me just quickly show you how to do that. So we're going to give it two states. One is the normal state and the other one is the selected state. So let's go to Visual State Manager, the Visual Groups. Visual Groups. Then in the Visual Groups, we're going to have a visual group to group all the visual states. Visual group. Let's give it a name. Not necessarily, but we can give it a name. We can call it I call it common states, because you can have different visual groups in the Visual Manager. So let's just call this common states. And so right here we're going to have a visual state. So we'll call this visual state normal. So visual state. So let's give it a name. It's important that you give your visual state a name, because that's what you'll be using to reference it in code. Visual state, let's call this normal. And in this visual state, we want to set a property, and that is the gradient stop. So if you look at our design right here, we have the view contains a gradient, and because it's a pancake view, if you check here, the view contains a gradient, and because it's a pancake view, we're making use of the gradient, the background gradient stop for this. Okay, so and if you look at the visual state is in this pancake view, so we're going to create a setter and set the background gradient visual state setter. I need to put the visual state setter first. Visual state, the setter, like this. Then once set the background gradient stop to null. So that is going to be null. So it's going to take the normal background of the pancake view, which is white. Okay, so we need another visual state. We're going to call this selected. So let's call this selected. And in this setter, we're going to remove this, and we're going to add something else to it. So for this setter, we still want to use okay, for this setter, it's still going to be the background gradient stuff, but we're going to set it in a different way. So I'm going to remove this value from here. So we're going to set it this way. We're going to set it explicitly, and let's do setter.value. So in this value, that is where we're going to add our gradient stop collection, just like we did for the button, the book now button. So we have this like this. So we have our gradient stop collection, and we have the values like this. Okay, and the last thing we want to set also before we leave here in the setter is the gradient, the background gradient angle. So right here, before we go, let's set the angle to 270, just like we did for the book now button. All right, so lastly, before we go from this place, we want to check for tab. Let's see, when user taps on this pancake view to select the property type, we have to undo the tab gesture. So this is where we undo the tab gesture. I'm set to select type right here. Let's go to the definition. Okay, so this is a place where we now undoes going from one state to the other in the code behind, so that when the user taps, then moves from the default state to the selected state. Okay, so first of all, let's get hold on the view that has been selected. So let's do view equals sender as view, and I'm doing this because I need to make use of this view for a lot of things. So the first thing I want to do is to get the parent of this view. So the parent, and because we know that the parent is a stack layout, if you go to the main view, let me show you. The parent of this pancake view is a stack layout. So we want to get hold of the stack layout and check the list of the children. Parents equals view dot parents as a stack layout. Okay, stack layout. All right, then what I want to do is this. Anytime you select on an item, we want the rest of the item to go back to the normal state, and the only selected item to be highlighted. So what we're going to do is do a for each let's get each child in the parents, for each child in parents, the children. What we want to do at this stage is to now do go to the state, the normal state. So let's call visual state manager dot go to state, and we'll pass in the child, that is the view, child, and the state I want it to go to, which is normal. Okay, so each of the children, each of them will go to normal. Then after that, at this point, we now want the view itself. That's the first view. The one that was selected, itself, we've gotten it here before we're able to get the parent out of it. So we want that view to go to the selected state. Okay, so one last thing that you see is that by the time it is selected, the color here changes to white, while others are like gray-like, and this text here is actually a label. So the next thing we want to do is to change the color of the text to the different colors when they are selected respectively. So I'm going to use a method to handle that because I don't want to repeat myself. So let's just create a method called change text color, and inside that change text color I want to pass in the child, and for normal state we have the color, this gray color of 70 70 70. Yes. Okay, so then I'm going to now generate this method right here. Okay, so I'm going to probably call this x value, that is the x color value. Then right here also, finally want to change the color of the selected to white, so I'm going to give it FF, and this is going to be view. So you change the color of all the children to the gray color, and we change the selected one to white. Okay, so let's do the selection. Let's do the changing of color right here. So the first thing we want to do is to get the control, that's the label. I'm coming here, let me show you where it is. Coming here, you can see this is the label. We've already given it a name. The name is property type name. So we're going to find this label. So let's do text control ctrl equals, so the child, the view that is coming in, we already know that the view is a pancake view. You're going to find by name, and wants it to just find label of type label, find by name, the type label, the name called property type name. Okay, so once this is found, if it is not null, what we are going to do is to give it a color. So if the control is not null, we're going to give this the X value. So this is defensive programming here, because it's possible that I may not find it, so that our code will not crash. So you change the color of the text to the color that has been passed. Alright, so let's run this and see what we have. Okay, so we have our project loaded. Now let's select all. Yes, we have our gradient, so let's select studio. Selected. Let's scroll, selected. So there we have our view. We select this, goes to the next page, and it animates the view. Alright, thank you very much for watching this video. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing by clicking the subscription button down below. If you are regular and you're yet to subscribe, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to this channel. Help this channel to grow by subscribing, and also like this video. This will make the YouTube algorithm to suggest this video more to people, because you have indicated that it's helpful. So please do it in this order: like this video, subscribe to this channel, and click on that bell icon so that when I upload new content, you'll be notified. And also, more importantly, don't forget to share this video on Facebook, Twitter, and all other social media so that other people can find it. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.